Your life is not a disaster. And that's exactly why you're dying inside. You have a job, a bed, a screen full of shows, food that arrives with a tap. You laugh sometimes, you post sometimes, you tell people you're fine. But there's this quiet ache you carry to bed every night. Not a crisis, not a breakdown, just a heavy question. Is this really it? You're not in flames. You're in something worse. A warm prison. A life that is soft enough to keep you calm, but dull enough to slowly kill your spirit. And here's the terrifying part. Most people will never leave that prison because it never hurts quite enough. Today's story is about that prison. About a woman named Emma, 34 years old, in Toronto. Her life is fine, and that's the problem. In Japanese-inspired Zen, there is a metaphor called Nunuru Seki, the warm prison. Not the prison of chains and screaming, the prison of cushions, apps, streaming, comfort, and quiet regret. Nunuru Seki is a system, the way out of the warm prison, built on 4 pillars. Mezame, awakening. Seeing your comfort as a trap, not a blessing. Kutsu no ishi, the decision to choose fruitful discomfort over empty comfort. Kaizen no hono, the flame of small changes, 1% daily moves that slowly boil you out of the warm water. Seigi no michi, the path of rightful struggle, aligning your effort with a higher purpose, not just productivity. When you understand Nunuru Seki and its 4 pillars, you'll see why you stay stuck in a life that doesn't hurt enough to escape, and how to finally move. Before we dive in, if you're part of this channel, thank you. If you're new here and these stories help you wake up a little more, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you don't slip back into autopilot. And ask yourself honestly, is your life truly bad, or just comfortably killing your potential? Back to the video. Chapter 1. The Warm Prison. Emma's alarm goes off at 7:10 a.m. She doesn't wake up. She rises to the surface just enough to find her phone. Notifications, a reel, another reel, a good morning text from a group chat. She scrolls until the anxiety of being late is heavier than the comfort of the bed. Shower, the same blue mug, the same instant coffee, even though she passes 3 specialty cafes on the way to work. Headphones in. Podcast or playlist, it doesn't matter, as long as it fills the silence. Her office in downtown Toronto has big windows and small dreams. She opens her laptop. Emails, tasks, Slack messages with LOL and emojis. At 11:13 a.m., between spreadsheets, she opens a secret document titled, Things I Want to Create. Inside, half-written ideas for a blog, a coaching program for people who feel stuck, a plan for a small online community about living with more intensity. She stares at the blinking cursor for 10 seconds. Then another tab opens. Instagram, TikTok. A YouTube video about 10 habits of highly successful people that she'll never apply. By lunch, the document is closed. By 3 p.m., she's busy. By 5:30, she is exhausted, not from meaningful effort, but from mental noise. On the way home, she stops at the same grocery store, buys the same 3 things, and jokes with herself, wow, such a wild life. At home, takeout, Netflix, scrolling. She tells herself she'll do something creative after just 1 episode. Then the next episode autoplays. Then another. At midnight, the credits roll and the ache returns. That quiet, familiar ache in the chest. I'm wasting my life. But nothing is wrong enough to justify a dramatic change. She's not homeless. She's not in crisis. She's not being abused. She has weekends. She has friends. She has brunch. And yet, in the spaces between noises, she feels it. She is half awake, drifting through a life that is not painful enough to fix and not meaningful enough to love. The breaking point. One Wednesday, something small cracks the illusion. A colleague named Daniel announces he's quitting. He's leaving his stable job to move to another country and work on a tiny nonprofit project he believes in. Less money, more risk, no guaranteed path. Everyone gathers in the office kitchen. There's cake, jokes, the usual. You're so brave. I could never do that. What if it doesn't work out? Emma stands with a paper plate, smiling on the outside, burning on the inside. Daniel says, I realized I'd rather fail at something that matters to me than succeed at something that means nothing. The room laughs, claps, clinks plastic forks against paper plates. Emma goes home that night and doesn't turn on the TV immediately. She sits on her couch in silence. And suddenly, the silence is unbearable, because in that silence she can hear the truth. If I don't change, I know exactly who I'll be at 50. The woman who says, I once wanted to, and never did. Her chest feels tight. Tears threaten, but she swallows them back down with a delivery order and a new series. But something is different now. The warm water doesn't feel as comfortable. She can't unhear that sentence. The next morning, still unsettled, she stops at a tiny coffee shop she always walks past but never enters. A place called Ichi Morning. That's where she meets him. Chapter 2. The man in the coffee shop. The bell above the door rings softly as Emma steps inside. The shop is small, wooden counters, soft light, no big menu screens, just a handwritten board. Behind the counter stands an older man with gentle eyes and a stillness that doesn't match the usual cafe chaos. Good morning, he says. First time here? She nods. What do you recommend? She asks. He smiles. How much of your life do you live on autopilot? She blinks. Excuse me? He chuckles. If your answer is most of it, then you need something you cannot drink quickly. He suggests a slow, hand-brewed coffee. It takes longer, requires patience, cannot be rushed. She agrees, partly amused, partly too tired to argue. She watches him work, weighing the beans, slowly grinding them, pouring water in small circles. There's a ritual to it, a respect for time. When she comes back the next day, he remembers her name. Emma, the one who lives on autopilot. That's harsh, she says. Is it wrong? He asks. She doesn't answer. Over the next weeks, she returns again and again. Something about the quiet space and his calm presence feels different from her glowing screens. One morning, after a particularly hollow night of scrolling until 2 a.m., she arrives looking drained. He looks at her for a long second and says, Your face looks like someone who sleeps in a soft bed and wakes up in a hard life. She laughs awkwardly. My life is not hard, she says. That's kind of the problem. It's fine. He nods slowly. Ah, Nunuru Seki. She frowns. What's that? He sets down the kettle. The story of the warm prison. In old Zen stories, he begins, there is a metaphor. Nunuru Seki, the warm stone. Imagine a cold morning in a mountain temple. A stone is heated by the fire and then placed on a bench. A tired monk sits on it. At first it feels like heaven. The warmth seeps into his bones and he does not want to move. Prayers, training, duties, they all seem less urgent. The problem is not the warmth. The problem is that he never stands up. Hours pass. The day moves on without him. Nunuru Seki is not a prison of chains. It's a prison of comfort. He looks at her. Your life is not a prison of walls, Emma. It is a prison of cushions. She feels a sting in her chest. But isn't comfort good? She asks. Comfort is medicine, he says. But when you take medicine all day, every day, it becomes poison. The frog and the brain. He continues. You know the story of the frog in the pot? She nods. If you put a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. If you put it in lukewarm water and heat it slowly, it will stay until it dies, because it never feels enough pain to jump. He taps the counter gently. Your brain is like that. It hates sudden pain, so it avoids big risks. It loves small comforts. Scrolling, sweet food, another episode, more of the same. Every time you choose a tiny comfort over a tiny challenge, your brain releases dopamine, a little chemical, thank you. And every time you think of changing, your brain anticipates loss. Loss of rest, loss of certainty, loss of familiarity. This is called loss aversion and status quo bias. Your mind treats keeping things the same as safe, even if the same is slowly killing your spirit. He pours hot water over the coffee. Your limbic system, the emotional survival brain, cares about avoiding discomfort now. Your prefrontal cortex, the planning, higher brain, cares about meaningful goals and your future self. In Nunuru Seki, the warm prison, the limbic system wins quietly, day after day, not with big decisions, but with small ones. I'll do it tomorrow. Just one episode. I'm tired, I deserve this. He hands her the cup. Soon, you are not in a life you chose. You are in a life that slowly happened to you. Emma wraps her fingers around the warm mug. So what do I do? She asks. He smiles. You learn the 4 pillars of Nunuru Seki, the way out of the warm prison. Chapter 3. Choosing discomfort. That night, Mr. Ito gives her a simple assignment. On a napkin, he writes, Pillar 1, Mezame, awakening. See your comfort clearly. Tomorrow, he says, you will not try to change your life. You will only watch it like a scientist. Pillar 1, Mezame, awakening. The next day, Emma does something she has never done. She tracks her day with brutal honesty. She writes down 43 minutes scrolling in bed before getting up. 27 minutes jumping between email, news, and social media before starting actual work. 16 times she thinks, I should write, and then does something else. 2 hours and 40 minutes of streaming at night. 6 separate moments where she feels a pull to do something meaningful and chooses comfort instead. No judgment, just data. By the end of the day, the napkin is full of numbers and little notes. Open document, closed it after 12 seconds. Wanted to go for a walk, ordered food instead. Too tired to think. Watched videos about people who changed their lives. She brings the napkin to the cafe. Mr. Ito looks at it silently. Well, she asks, am I hopeless? He shakes his head. No. You are awake now. Before you were suffering without seeing. Now you are suffering and seeing. That is already movement. Then he writes, Pillar 2, Kutsu no Ishi, the decision for fruitful discomfort. Choose your pain on purpose. Pillar 2, Kutsu no Ishi, fruitful discomfort. You cannot escape pain, he says. You can only choose the one that grows you over the one that slowly empties you. He asks her, what pain are you willing to choose on purpose? She hesitates. She thinks of waking up earlier, of staring at a blank page, of risking rejection by posting her work, of feeling stupid trying something new. None of that feels pleasant. But then she thinks of another pain. Waking up at 50 with a life built entirely on avoiding discomfort. That thought makes her stomach twist. Okay, she says. I'll choose the smaller pain now. Together they make a pact. Every weekday, she will wake up 45 minutes earlier. Those 45 minutes are for creating, not consuming. Writing, sketching, planning her coaching idea. Before any entertainment, She must do 20 minutes of focused, meaningful work. Once a day, she will choose meaningful discomfort over empty comfort, saying no to an invitation that drains her, having an honest conversation instead of avoiding it, going to a workshop alone, sharing one small piece of her work online. This is not a punishment, Mr. Ito says. This is a trade. You trade the comfort of this moment for the comfort of being proud of yourself later. From a neuroscience perspective, she is doing something powerful. She's creating a new habit loop: discomfort, action, small sense of pride. Over time, this rewires her brain's relationship with effort. Effort is no longer just pain. It becomes associated with meaning, growth, identity. That night, she sets an earlier alarm. She charges her phone in the kitchen instead of by her bed. No scroll before sleep. It feels small, but inside something has shifted. For the first time, she is not just wishing. She is choosing. Chapter 4. The relapse into comfort. Change is never a straight line. For 2 weeks, Emma keeps her packed. She wakes up earlier most days. She writes clumsy, imperfect paragraphs in the quiet morning. She posts one tiny reflection online and gets 3 comments from strangers saying it resonated. She goes to a local workshop on creative work, alone, heart-pounding. She starts to feel different, not transformed, but more awake. Her evenings of endless streaming shrink a bit. Her workday feels less like something to endure and more like a container holding her secret life. Then life hits. A big project at work, late nights, an argument with a friend, a wave of exhaustion. One Friday, she tells herself, "I'll skip my morning writing just today. I need rest." She sleeps in. She skips the coffee shop. She eats junk. She scrolls until her thumb hurts. Saturday becomes a blur of social media, snacks, and "I'll get back on track tomorrow." Sunday, the same. By Sunday night, she feels heavier than before she started. The voice returns. "See? This is who you really are. Lazy, undisciplined. All that effort was fake." Monday morning, she almost doesn't go to the cafe. But habit, or maybe something deeper, pulls her in. Mr. Ito takes one look at her face and says, "Ah, you made a visit. Back to the warm prison." She slumps onto the stool. "I messed it up," she says. "I knew it. I can't change." He shakes his head. "No, you just learned Pillar 0. "What's that?" she asks. "That the prison has a door you can walk back through at any time, and it will always look inviting." Relapse is not proof you're broken, he leans in. The warm prison, it is not an enemy that disappears. It is an invitation that stays. The first time you leave a soft chair, your bones complain. You think, "This pain means I should sit back down." No. It means your muscles are waking up. If you keep walking, the pain becomes strength. He explains how the brain works. When you change habits, your old neural pathways don't evaporate. They sit there, ready to be reactivated. Stress and fatigue push you back toward automatic, easy behaviors. Your brain thinks it's protecting you. Relapse, he says, is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that the old path is still available. The question is not, "Did you fall?" The question is, "Do you stay there?" Emma feels tears in her eyes. "So what do I do now?" He wipes the counter and writes, Pillar 3, Kaizen no Hono, the flame of small changes. Keep the fire small, but never let it die. Chapter 5, the fire that doesn't go out, Pillar 3, Kaizen no Hono, small flames. Most people, he says, when they relapse, try to come back with fireworks. From now on, I'll wake up at 4 a.m. I'll work out 2 hours a day. I'll never use my phone again. Fireworks look impressive, and then they disappear. So what do I do instead? She asks. You build a campfire, not fireworks. Small, steady, protected from the wind. They redesign her approach. 20 minutes of meaningful work in the morning instead of 45, but every single weekday, no negotiation. One evening per week with no screens, just journaling, reading, or walking. Replace one comfort habit with one growth habit. Scroll after work. Walk while listening to something inspiring. Late night snacking, herbal tea, and journaling. He explains, your brain learns not from dramatic declarations, but from repeated experiences. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, your identity shifts a fraction. From I am someone who avoids effort to I am someone who moves, even a little, towards what matters. Neuroscience calls this self-signaling. Your actions are evidence your brain uses to decide who you are. Emma returns to her routine. No big speeches, just 20 minutes. One evening without screens. One small act of courage per day. Weeks pass, then months. Her warm prison doesn't vanish, but its walls begin to thin. Pillar 4. Seigi no Michi, the path of rightful struggle. One morning she tells Mr. Ito, I'm doing the habits, I'm writing, I feel better, but sometimes I still wonder, why? Why am I doing all this? Just to be productive? He nods. This is the last pillar, he says. Without it, the others will collapse. Seigi no Michi, the path of rightful struggle. Not every struggle is holy. Some is just ego, some is noise. The question is, who are you doing this for? What would make this effort feel like honor, not just hustle? He asks her, if your work could relieve one kind of suffering in the world, which would you choose? She thinks. Her mind goes to all the nights she felt empty in front of a glowing screen. All the people who live on autopilot like she did. I want to help people who feel like I felt, she says, half alive, comfortable but empty. I want to create things that wake them up a little. He smiles. Good. That is your seigi, your rightful cause. When your struggle serves something sacred to you, it stops feeling like torture and starts feeling like devotion. They write it down. Her deeper why, to help others escape their own warm prison. Her North Star, create work, writing, videos, coaching that makes people feel less alone and more awake. Her non-negotiables, 20 minutes of creation each morning in service of this mission. One piece of work shared with the world every week, no matter how imperfect. She is no longer just trying to be disciplined. She is walking a path of rightful struggle. The turning point one evening, after months of small steps, Emma finishes something. Not just notes, not just ideas, a full, honest piece of writing about her own warm prison, Nunuru Seki, and the quiet agony of a life that is fine. Her finger hovers over the publish button. Her heart races. This is stupid. No one cares. What if they laugh? The old brain screams, stay safe, stay unseen, stay in the warm water. She remembers Mr. Ito's words. You cannot escape pain. You can only choose the one that grows you. She clicks publish. Hours later, a message arrives from a stranger. I don't know you, but I feel like you wrote this about my life. I've been stuck for years. Your words made me cry in the best way. Thank you. Emma stares at the screen. Comfort never gave her this feeling. Only the chosen struggle did. Something in her shifts, deeply and permanently. Time skip, 2 years later. 2 years pass. From the outside, Emma's life doesn't look crazy different. She still lives in an apartment. She still buys groceries. She still rides public transit. She still visits the same tiny coffee shop. But the texture of her life has changed completely. She wakes up earlier, consistently. Her mornings are sacred. No phone, just coffee, notebook, and work that matters to her. She has a small online audience that reads her writing or listens to her short videos about living awake. She's slowly building a coaching practice on the side, helping others escape their warm prisons. She says no more often, to empty social events, to pointless scrolling, to relationships that dull her. She still feels fear. She still has days where she wants to crawl back into the warm water and forget everything. She still sometimes relapses into comfort loops. But now, she doesn't stay there. Her friends notice. "You've changed," one of them says. "You're more intense, but also calmer. Like you're really here." Emma smiles. "I'm just more awake," she says. On a quiet morning, she asks Mr. Ito, "Do you think I've finally escaped the warm prison?" He shakes his head gently. "Nunuru Seki is not a place you leave once. It is a temptation you refuse every day. But look at you. You are no longer sitting on the warm stone. You are walking. Sometimes you stumble. Sometimes you rest. But you are on the path. That is all that matters." Nunuru Seki, the 4 pillars for you. Now this story is not just about Emma. It's about you. Maybe your life isn't a disaster. Maybe it's just warm enough to keep you asleep. You have a job, a bed, a screen, a routine, and yet, something inside you is knocking. Let's bring the pillars to you. 1. Mezame, awakening. See clearly how your comfort habits steal your life. For one day, become brutally honest. Track where your time actually goes. Track where your attention goes. Track where your money goes. How many hours belong to scrolling, numbing, just one more episode? How many minutes belong to what you say you care about? Don't judge. Just see. Awareness is not the whole journey, but it is the first step out of the warm prison. 2. Kutsu no Ishi, chosen discomfort. Decide which pain you will choose on purpose, in service of your future. You cannot have a meaningful life without discomfort. The question is, which discomfort will you choose? The discomfort of waking up earlier, or the discomfort of lying in bed at night hating your own excuses? The discomfort of a hard conversation, or the discomfort of a fake relationship? The discomfort of trying something new and looking silly, or the discomfort of wondering what if for decades? Pick 1-2 meaningful discomforts and commit. 20 minutes of creation before any entertainment. 1 action every day that your future self would thank you for. 3. Kaizen no Hono. Small flames move 1% every day. Replace tiny comforts with tiny acts of courage. Don't wait for motivation. Don't build fireworks. Build a campfire. 20 focused minutes. 1 screen-free evening a week. 1 small piece of your work shared per week. Your brain doesn't need a revolution. It needs repetition. Each small win is a vote for a new identity. 4. Seigi no Michi, rightful struggle. Tie your effort to something sacred, people, purpose, legacy. Ask yourself, who do I want my life to help? What kind of suffering do I want to relieve? What would make my struggle feel like honor, not just pressure? Write it down. Make your effort about more than your ego. When your struggle serves a higher purpose, discipline stops being a prison guard and becomes a guardian of your path. Your assignment. You don't need to burn your life down. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. You don't need to move to a different country. You need to wake up inside the life you already have and start walking. So here's your assignment. Today, not tomorrow, choose 1 small discomfort in service of your future. 20 minutes of focused work on something that matters to you. One honest conversation you've been avoiding. 1 hour without any numbing habit. No social media, no streaming, just you and your thoughts. Notice how your brain resists. Notice how your body complains. And then notice how, afterward, there is a tiny spark of pride. I am not completely trapped. I can move, even a little. That spark is your Kaizen no Hono, your flame of small changes. Protect it, feed it, walk with it. If this story spoke to you, if you recognize your own warm prison in Emma's life, consider subscribing, turning on the bell, and sharing this with someone who might need a wake-up call. There are more stories coming about discipline, purpose, and the quiet war against a half-lived life. And remember, be present, walk with honor, follow the path.